And welcome back to another fun-filled episode of For Further Instructions, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Curtis Lee here with...
I am Hutch Dano, and today we have a wonderful guest from all the way in Carlsbad, I believe, right? Sabrina Zohar, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Woo! So happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you. I was watching. You recently just did a rebrand of your podcast. It's very, very successful. I would love to hear about that.
Tell us about it.
Oh, God. So it's now called The Sabrina Zohar Show that focuses on dating and anxiety. And truthfully, the rebrand was not by choice. I got a cease and desist letter. And that type of stuff happens. And because, like, I don't know, when I first started this, like, I had a couple 100,000 followers on TikTok, and I was like, I don't know, I'm starting this podcast. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Let me just throw this up. And then it started to mushroom, it started to morph, and it was like, oh, cool, we have a community here. And then you become on someone's radar. And so I got a cease and desist letter. My entire world crashed, and I was like, okay. And I remember it's so funny because Daniel, you had literally just messaged me being like, I love the name of your show, and I was like, cool, you got 2 more days to love it.
Dude, that's so wild.
Talk about timing.
Yeah.
But it's also like in those moments, it's one of those things that it's really, it's shitty to happen. And by no means was I excited about this, or was I like, yay, I can't wait to be wildly inconvenienced and fucking freaked out for 2 weeks and spend all this money on lawyers.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what it really helped was like, it's part of that releasing control to the outcome and surrendering and really knowing that like, life is going to throw shit at your way, but it's like, how do you handle it? Not what happens to you. So it ended up all working out beautifully. The rebrand went perfect as well as it could have possibly been. But, same show, just new name. But it's like, God damn it. That was really fucking inconvenient.
And sometimes that happens, man. We get these obstacles in front of us, but the real champions are the guys who can gallop on over it, man. So you're out here and you're still doing the work, even if the podcast isn't called Do the Work. This is dope. Yeah. No. You're great either way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I'll tell you.
Make sure I don't get a trademark.
Hey,
right.
That part.
Yeah, you will now. Then you end up having to do that because of the first thing. That's always so frustrating because a lot of the times, anytime the cease and desist comes, it comes from somebody who really doesn't even have the success that you have with that name. Yeah. And so it's like, why don't you just fuck off? Can you just like go away? Like, who cares? Like, no one. You have like 1,000 followers with the Do the Work thing that you trademarked. I've got 500,000 or 800,000. Like, come on now. There's eventually got to be like some hierarchy where it's like, but my success far surpasses yours. The courts should probably look at that. That should probably be looked at. That's just me. That's just me personally.
No, I'm with you. I would have loved that. And it's one of those situations that like, you're not prepared for it. It comes your way and you're like, what the fuck? And you try to negotiate and you try. And precisely, it's like this person's podcast has 7 reviews and he's been doing it for like 4 years. And it's like, hey man, I get it. Your ego is the size of a fucking building. But like now it becomes my issue. And it's like, it's okay. I'm not going to talk shit even though I'd like to. And all I'm just going to say is like, friends, check your name and make sure you're legally okay before you start doing that. That would be my best suggestion.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. You are on our pod now that is called For Further Instructions. It was called the Zeke and Luth pod before, and I know I sent you some clips, but we rebranded as well, and I waited till we were shooting this episode to tell you because you told me about your rebrand, and our rebrand was 100% by choice.
Okay.
So different than your situation, but we were constantly inundated with these comments and these questions about the fact that me and Daniel are both from a show called Zeke and Luther, but there's another actor that's also on it who was not available for the pod, and people kept asking where he was.
Yeah.
And I went, eventually, I the first 9, 10, 11,000 messages and comments, I'm okay. I can be like, okay, you know what? I get it. You're just asking the question. But after the 11,001th I really started to like, I called Daniel. I went, if I have to see that fucking question one more time, I said, we're going to have a fucking problem. I said, we got to do something. I said, because clearly the name is so connected to all 3 of us, then when only 2 of us are there, the big question is not, the big question is why is the person that, the 3rd person not with us? So we ended up rebranding completely and kind of getting away from the nostalgia pod aspect of things. So now it's just the fact that it's Daniel and I, and we love having people on, successful people, entertaining people, interesting people, and just kind of, storytelling is my favorite part about the show in general.
Oh yeah.
So, but I'm so sorry that happened to you, because you know what? When you have put in the work you have and do the work, it's like you should be able to keep that name, honestly, because you earned that name.
But now it's even better, and it's got your actual name in it.
That is true.
So you're branding yourself. You're getting all the branding. We love it.
That's true. I mean, yeah, the rebrand is definitely,
To your point as well, like it allows you the flexibility and freedom to do more, right? Like you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
can
yeah.
have conversations that you want to have. You can say things without it being pigeonholed to like, we have to do this. So it's kind of the same shit. It like comes up with dating as well, where I'm like, sure, is it wildly inconvenient? Do we want to break up or a cease and desist or a major life change? I don't know. I'm not personally asking for one right now. I don't know about you guys.
Sure.
But what I do know is like, God, the universe, whatever the fuck you believe in, I don't really care. But whatever's above us, whatever's bigger than me, which would be arrogant for me to think that there's nothing, whatever that is, does really have a plan. And if we can actually learn to just like get comfortable being uncomfortable, and like, I think the biggest aspect to also hold on to here is like being able to hold two conflicting truths. Like when I got that letter and I had like a full on panic attack mode, we go into this either like I have to villainize them for me to feel good, or I have to be the idiot that didn't look into this and start to attack myself in order for me to feel better about the situation. But really what it shows us is like we can hold two conflicting thoughts. It could be really shitty and I could be so upset and so in pain and feel and mourn. But then the other flip side of it is it could also be something that could really be for my higher good and something that could be beneficial. Not necessarily everything happens for a reason, but more so I will go fucking insane if I don't at least try to find some kind of silver lining in situations that happen. It kind of then feels like it's a moot point otherwise.
Now, having you on here is amazing for the pod, but also I have a personal question that I have to ask you.
Hey.
Yes.
And it's based off of the last 2 grocery store encounters I've had with women that I thought were beautiful. Okay? And I need to know what I did wrong. Okay? You need to tell me because both of these did not go well.
The man needs help. Help this man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Anyway, and so one of them was I was in the cereal aisle and the girl was there. And all I said was, hey, I just wanted to let you know that you're so beautiful. That's all I said. That's all I said. And I got the stink eye quick. Like it was quick. I went, So I retreated as quickly as possible, right? And then the next one was there's a Starbucks in the grocery store. And one of the girls, I was ordering coffee. I was talking with her. And I just said, you know what? Like I've always felt it was really nice when someone gave me a compliment, whether it was about my shoes or they say, oh, you're looking good today. You look really put together. You look handsome, whatever it was. It usually really made my day better. So this was not one where I had any intention. Actually, neither one of them I had much intention besides just telling them. And so I told her too, I said, I just want to tell you, you're looking so pretty today. Cause she'd taken my order before. Same uncomfortable awkwardness. And I'm like, I'm not even trying to do anything. And I'm like, has creepy Tinder guys, have they ruined everything? I just need to know if like that's still, is the courting or complimenting of people, has it changed because there's just so many shitty people out there now?
I also think there's a discomfort, like as a woman, if I'm out in general, if I'm out in public and I have a man that tells me something about my looks, instantly there's a power dynamic that's been established here of like, oh, wait, you now find me attractive. Oh, okay. So this is no longer just even like a friendly conversation. So now if someone's picking up what you're putting down, sure. For me, my number one, like, I don't like to have dating rules. I think that's just like a silly term, but I'm going to say for argument's sake, my number one rule with myself was anytime I was out in public or on an app, if somebody commented on my physicality, I was instantly turned off because I'm like, I am tired. Like, I get it. Oh, wow, you have a great smile. Yeah, fucking come up with something more original.
Shit.
Ooh, so Hutch is a creep. Hutch is a creep. I knew it. I knew this guy was a creep.
So
how do you help him in this situation so he can rid himself of this creepiness?
Before you say anything, I want you to know that this man has turned on me more times on this podcast than our entire friendship. I've never had someone go from my friend to when the camera's rolling. He's like, well, looks like someone's a bitch over here.
I just want you to get help, man. I just want you to get help.
It's tough love. Let's look at it that like a.
Hey, there we go. So yeah, what are his options in that situation? He goes to the grocery store. He's in a cereal aisle. He loves cereal, and he also wants to speak to these women. What does he do?
Let's revolve it around the cereal.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think your best bet is always to either so if I were like anytime I'd be out in public, the first thing I would do is find something about someone to have a conversation that's not their physicality. So like
Sure.
I wear a Whoop all the time. So if I saw anybody at the gym, if I saw them with a Whoop, the first thing I'd be like, does that actually calculate your sleep, or is it just me that it doesn't work? That way I was coming in out
Nice.
of like, hey, let's talk about this wearable, because then I would get oh, my girlfriend has the same problem. And I'd be like, oh, no shit. You know what? It's not just me. Cool. Thanks so much, dude. And
Got
I'd
it.
keep going.
Got it.
Or if they have a tattoo, or if they have something on their shirt, like, where did you get that from? I've been looking for an artist. You're not actually looking for a tattoo artist, right? But it's like, it doesn't matter. It's about
Got it.
complimenting something. Like if I had this and you're like, oh, I like that smiley face. Like, which side are you, black or white? I don't fucking know. I'm just throwing something out there.
No. Yeah.
It gives a conversation starter, because I think as a woman personally, I can't speak for all women, but
Sure.
as a woman, it's like, of course, we want to be complimented. But then there's a difference when we're out in public and you're just trying to
Mm.
there's a weird feeling that happens to a girl when someone compliments your looks, because instantly you're self-conscious about it. You're like, oh, I didn't want to call that attention to myself. I'm just trying to
Got
find my
it.
fucking cereal.
That's insight. That's
So
some insight right
No,
there.
I appreciate that immensely because, again, I was always taught, my mom taught, look, if you like, there's nothing wrong with nice compliments and saying things, especially if you're not gonna, you're not having like an intention behind it. So like there were times where, I would have people say like me, whether it was, sometimes it was like a grandma would be like, you're a very handsome young man. Or I'd even have like, a girl my own age would be like, I want to tell you, it's just, let's say got great style, or they'd say something really, really nice. And so I always like to think that I can return that favor. And so I guess that's why with these two, I was so confused, because my intention was nothing, it was just to give the compliment. There was I didn't want anything back. I wasn't trying to search for a number or information on whether or not they were available. So that's actually really great advice, because again, I don't know from that perspective. I only know from mine. And what I've experienced. So I appreciate that immensely. That's great advice.
Your
That's
other
valid.
best bet too is you can compliment somebody of like, that color is fantastic on your skin tone. I just had to let you know. Or like, I love, or like if I saw, like, I'll do that all the time. I'll see girls out and I'm like, that outfit is fierce on you. Like, keep it up, babe. And it's like, as a girl, you're like,
Nice.
yeah, okay. But like for me, if I were to walk and someone was like, wow, that's a really beautiful color on you. Or like, I love I don't mean to be creepy. Your hair is fantastic. I just had to tell you. I
Sure.
think there's a way that we can compliment about something. Because if I came to you and was like, oh my God, Hutch, you're so handsome. And you're like, okay. But if I was like, that's a really flattering color on you. That's a beautiful blue on your skin tone. You're just like,
Right.
oh,
Okay. Yeah.
thank
I
you.
get it.
Like,
Then I
okay.
can do something with that information. Now I know to
That's-
wear blue if I want to be, versus just, oh, you're looking good. It's like, oh, but what about those days I don't look good? I feel
Exactly.
Okay, first
It's
off, that's a you thing.
fat.
That's a you thing.
No,
Do not act like that
I'm
was
struggling
everybody.
in this shirt right now.
Like-
do I look fat to you right now? Huh? These buttons are just popping out, man. Good Lord.
That would be, imagine if somebody came up to you at the store and was like, hey, one size too small, and just walked off.
Oh,
the pain.
shit.
The pain.
I wouldn't.
That's look.
It's like, you're wearing a medium today, huh?
a
Right?
medium.
medium.
It's an in the middle small medium. Is that what's going on here? What happened?
Medium.
Was it supposed to be cold wash and you put it through the dryer?
Oh man.
So we have a segment on this show, and
yes.
I think over the now this will be our 13th episode that we've shot.
Hey.
We have tried to find a way to segue from our conversations into the segment, but it's so fucking random. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's just not a possibility to
Well,
do.
I think it has to do with you being so thirsty, trying to pick up girls the wrong way. Now we're thirsty for some soda.
What?
For what segment is this, Hutch? What do we call this segment?
I'm gonna get you back, bro.
It's the best segue.
What the fiddly fuck are we drinking? And you already know because Sabrina, I had it sent to you. We have enchilada flavored soda today.
Oh, this smells horrible.
Oh.
I can smell the chili peppers.
Mhm.
And the
Honestly,
onion.
it's like you just knew me so well that Mexican food is probably my least favorite flavor profile.
Really?
Oh.
Okay, so that's just the best.
Oh, you in trouble. You in trouble,
right.
Sabrina.
So we have to explain. We explain the rules every time, which I wonder for anyone who like is a fan of the pod and listens to each one if they want to hear the rules
awful.
each time. But for our guest, You don't even have to try it. You can smell it and tell us to fuck off. Daniel has to try it.
I gotta try it,
but
at
he
least.
doesn't
I
have
don't
to
have to
finish
drink it
it.
all.
And then I have to drink the entire bottle.
Whew.
Oh, you got the shit end of the stick on this one.
Yeah.
Well, it was my
he came up with
idea
it.
for the segment, and also
Fair.
the feedback that we're getting is that people love to watch me bummed out while I drink it. Because then they're like, wow, this is really funny. Like, he's having to drink this horrible soda, and I can just imagine what it tastes like instead of actually drinking it myself.
No, this-
So
I'm so ready, especially because it says pure cane sugar, and I'm like, oh, that was necessary to add. Okay. Thank you so much.
100%. Well, cheers to you.
Hey, cheers, Sabrina. We out here.
All right.
There we go.
Let's give it a
Cheers,
shot,
guys.
shall we?
Oh, no. No bueno. No me gusta. This is terrible.
Why, though, is my question.
That's a great
Because it's
question.
like, part of this coming out, I'm like, okay, there's sweetness. And then there's like a savory enchilada flavor. You must really love Mexican food if you're going to have an enchilada soda at the time of any kind of meal.
Yeah, there's no meal that will
There is
fit this.
there's a lot wrong with this soda. It's a lot wrong. The only thing they got right is that it tastes exactly like an enchilada.
It does. It does.
But don't forget to put your cane sugar all over your enchilada.
Right, you got to make sure you've got that sugar on top of that enchilada. That's the only way it really works.
It's that like breathy, like in your nose type extra onion smell. I don't know how they did that.
It's like I can taste like the herbs almost. I'm like, is it cilantro? Like what?
Right.
Yeah.
Something in there.
There's a palate note here.
You'll get to watch me drink the rest of it. I've had 1/3 of it so far, and I already hate my life. So
I can taste the sour.
there we go.
I can't wait to support this journey.
Yeah, it's right. Exactly. You can be there just supporting. Daniel will do what he always does, which is say that he's going to be in solidarity with me, but he never picks the bottle up again.
No, I'm done.
Right?
Yeah, no, it's not drinking.
It's not going to happen. Okay, got it. Well, I wanted to know. So you talk about relationships, and you have such wonderful advice that you give. Would you say, like right now, would you say that relationships are harder now because of technology, or do you think that they were harder before?
Okay. Here's my hot take on that.
Hey, hot take.
I think it's a double-edged sword with it's like any theory, right? With gravity, what goes up must come down. So it's like the pendulum is going to swing. Now, if we look back in the day, right, pre-technology, like the era that we were born in, God forbid, the ones before we had cell phones, because we're archaic,
right?
Maybe being a millennial. We have to remember, look at the past generations, especially like the 80s, right, the late 70s into the 90s, before cell phones, before technology. Divorce rates were through the roof. There were a lot of people dated out of proximity. Oh, well, you live here. Okay, you're in my area. Oh, okay. Well,
I'm stuck with Earl.
20. We got to get married, right? That's what you do, right? you do that. And it's like, exactly. And it's like, that's a lot of people got married out of proximity, out of timing, out of convenience, out of lust, out of this immediacy of like, oh, I'm chasing these feelings. And especially with a lot of childhood trauma. When we think about the generations prior to that, our parents being raised by people in the 50s and 60s, a lot of like still misogyny and a lot of antiquated thinking and a lot of these polarizing, men need to do this, women need to do that. So then all of a sudden we had people that are getting married that were willy-nilly getting married. They weren't, even back up until like the 90s, therapy was seen as like, oh, you have something wrong with you. That's why you go to therapy. So if you admit that you go, you're fucked up. Then all of a sudden technology came out and it's a double-edged sword, right? So it fucked with a lot of people as far as like, let's be honest, the casino is always going to win. The house is going to win. So it's like all these people going after these dating apps. It's like, well, they're a business. A business's main goal is to make money.
Just charging. Hutch was telling me how they raised his rent, right? You're paying $40 a month now, huh? Just to stay on the app.
Your real estate has really improved there. And monopoly, right? It's like it's fake.
Totally.
Money. But so it's like we have these apps that came out. And like for me personally, I met my now partner who we live together and are potentially going to be getting married. Like that's the trajectory we're on. How sweet. Nice. We met on Hinge. Like I would never have met him if we were not in the same, like I came down to visit my sister after my dog passed away. I was like, I remember just being like, well, fuck it. I don't have the bandwidth for much else. Let me just go on this hike date. Like, who cares? And I
Right.
just went. Now, did that mean that like that all of a sudden because we met in a dating app he owed me anything? That's the issue. I think it's people's expectations. I think it's the way that people are becoming buyers. I think it's the
Mm,
fact that trauma is running a fucking muck and that there are people that are not actually willing to look at themselves. That's the issue with relationships. It's not that technology has come in and ruined it. On the contrary, technology has allowed us to meet people we never would. Technology has allowed us to educate ourselves in ways we never would. When have we seen narcissism become so normalized? When have we seen mental health become so normalized? Where are we now? We're in a generation where I get to choose as a woman that's now 34. I get to say,
mm,
I don't have to marry you because I need to do this. I don't have to
yeah.
do all that. I can make a decision and a choice for me. And I can actually marry somebody that I genuinely believe would be a partner that I could be with for the rest of my life. And so
Sure.
I think, sure, technology has it had its minuses, of course. It's gamified, it's adding dopamine, it's creating the sense of urgency. But I don't just blame the phones. What I look at that as is our nervous systems were not prepared for this. We are primal. We should be back into hunter gatherers, no more than 50 people. And, when I
Hey.
hear this, I feel abandoned. It's like being abandoned, what that actually means is that like if you were in a tribe, right? If we were all in the same group and you guys left me in the middle of the night and I was left alone, that's actual abandonment. My life and my safety are being sacrificed if you leave me. But
Mm,
now all days is,
Mm.
well, he didn't text me back. He's abandoning me. And it's like
yeah, yeah. Get out of here.
what I see is it's like our nervous systems are not able to keep up with this. And then what ends up happening is we regress back to being children. We go back into that amygdala part of our brain. And what I really think it is it's less about technology and more about the tools on how to actually fucking use this with any kind of responsibility because any schmo can go in and buy this. And unfortunately, then anyone can start their addiction loop within a matter of seconds because you have a cell phone.
Yo, bars, man. You telling that truth right there. That's deep.
Well,
Factual.
I wish you would have said this to me before I bought the 3-month package on Bumble, because you have to buy that in order to get a deal. You gotta buy
You
3
gotta buy all
months
three.
in order for it to actually make any
Got
financial
'em.
sense at all. So no, I really do agree, and I think the reason why I mean, there's a number of reasons I think that you're successful, but I think one of the reasons is that you very much relate and understand where people are coming from, and then you are analyzing and giving your own opinion on it. You're not coming from a place of just, oh, this is what it is. You're coming from actual facts and from the data and from studying these things yourself to then come up with the opinion that I think even me and Daniel, like we agree just because of how well you said it. I agree with you.
Oh yeah.
Thanks.
And
Yeah.
that's hard because again, relationships are such an important aspect, I think, of being a human. I do believe that I used to be toxically Lone Ranger, where I acted like I didn't need anybody and I didn't want anybody. Right in my mind, I was like, I want to stand on my own 2 feet and I don't need anyone. And the whole point is, yeah, you cannot need anyone, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have someone. It doesn't mean that you actually don't need someone, emotionally, or, we're not meant to just be like people in a cave by ourselves. That's
No.
not what we're meant to be. And unfortunately, I think that technology has actually made it that much more easy
Possible.
for us to just be one person in a cave in the dark with this little box that's our
Hey,
phone.
Batman did it.
Look, Batman was not a emotionally sound person
Hey.
at all times.
Great guy though.
Batman's
good
not
heart.
real.
It's like he's not real.
Batman is not real.
What was that? What was that?
I
Brina?
said you could be, but even there, that's two conflicting truths. Somebody could be a great human, but they could also lack the emotional bandwidth that you would need to be in a relationship with them.
Facts right
Even
there.
on somebody like fucking Batman, by whatever.
That's right.
Like
That's right,
Looks
Daniel.
good on paper.
Yeah. See, and by the way, this is why Daniel's life is so fucked up. He idolizes Batman. That's who it is. That's his person.
Batman keeps leading me astray,
this
man.
is why he's like, I don't know why me being in this cave by myself with bats is so
I should have
so
looked up to the
depressing
Joker.
all
I
the
should have looked up to the Joker.
yeah, Gotham has gotten really fucking dark, and Gotham is turning. It's New York City at this point. That actually is
yeah,
Gotham.
Man,
right.
or downtown LA. It's all they're all getting rough, man. Hey,
yeah.
can I ask you this, Sabrina? Do you feel like there is a specific number of breakups that a person should go through before they could truly commit and find someone worth spending the rest of their life with?
On paper, no, because like I could say that somebody could go through one breakup. Like my sister had one major heartbreak and she was in high school and then she met her husband right after and they've been together for 20 years. So you're like,
Got it.
fuck. What I think it is it's really about how well do you know yourself, right? Like if
Mm.
we're entering into the dating world and I see this every goddamn day is like people, okay, I'm going to make a statement that might be a little hot. But what I
Hot take.
actually really notice and like now bear with me is I feel like there are a lot of people out there and this could be figurative, it's not a literal, but for men specifically, I feel like there are a lot of people that haven't been punched in the face. And what I
Hey.
mean by that
Well, that's
is I think you know what I mean, is that people haven't had they haven't had a bad thing happen, right? Like
Yep.
when somebody gets socked in the fucking face, you learn that you don't speak to people in a certain way anymore because you've
well,
Yep.
been taught
that's
what you need
true.
to do.
You won't do it anymore?
And you won't do it anymore. And I find that with dating, what I see is like either a lack of accountability. No, it's everyone else. It's not me. No, it's all the guys and all the people are this and
Right.
everyone on the
Mhm.
dating apps is this. And
They're the
oh, okay,
problem.
so no one is going to take accountability for being like, hey, but I'm also highly anxious and I probably text too much and I think I'm way overbearing and I want this person.
Mm.
A lot of people are attaching, not connecting. And I think
Yeah.
what ends up happening is we want to connect with somebody. You want to have something where if I don't talk to you for a day, I'm not freaking out and thinking that this relationship is ended, or I'm not on the pendulum swing being like, whoa, I need my space. I need to remove myself. Because what that
Sure.
is like, we just have a low window of tolerance. And I think what ends up happening is during breakups, during hard things, like when my dog passed away, when I've hit rock bottom, when I almost lost my mom. Those are those moments when I was supposed to fucking do Shark Tank and I was on set and set home. Those are
Mm.
those mind fucks that
Mm.
push you and challenge you to really understand, holy shit, I actually can do this. I really do just need myself. And at the end of the day, if I keep self-abandoning, I'm never actually going to be satisfied in a relationship.
Mm.
Mm.
So long way of saying, I do think heartbreak is important. I do
Yeah.
think that it's like anything. When people say, I just want to feel good, why do I have to feel all those other emotions? Well, because if you only ever feel good, how are you going to appreciate feeling good when you haven't understood what the other side of the coin feels
Yeah.
like?
The
Sure.
duality of it all. That's real.
Yeah. Um, I've been punched in the face. So I can tell you, it definitely does. If you've done something now, in the case of when I was punched in the face, it was because I used to be of as Daniel would call it, a raging drunk, and so I'm sober almost 8 years now. But when I wasn't, I used to really I used to try to cash checks that myself I could not cash,
Hey.
and so I would say something to a guy like who was like 6'5" and clearly had been in fights before and worked out more than once every year. And so I would say something and then I would get punched in the face. And eventually you kind of realize, okay,
Keep that to myself.
maybe I should just keep that to myself because I really don't want the consequences. So I can agree fully that I think, especially in relationships, even if it's just being emotionally punched in the face, that people are not really getting the consequences for their actions a lot because there's just so many different apps and there's so many ways to ghost people and not have to really have those hard conversations and be like, hey, I apologize. I know we've gone on a couple dates, but I'm not really interested anymore. Like people don't have to do that anymore. They can just hide or run away or block someone. They don't
Oh.
have to really have
The hassle.
those hard conversations. I
Yeah.
think that really do make us into the people with integrity that we would like to be.
Hey.
And
So,
oftentimes,
yeah.
because those hard conversations mean that we have to look at ourselves, right? I have to be the bad
Right.
guy. I have to hurt someone else. Oh, I don't want to
Mhm.
Mm.
be seen as that. And also,
Mm.
let me just preface and say, because I did not say it before, by no means are we talking about any kind of relationships with abuse. By no means are we
Oh, yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
no.
anybody that would
Sure.
ever lay a hand. You'd be surprised. Some
Of
people
course.
attack and lash out. And I'm like, okay, I don't think I was literally talking about a man putting his hands on you. No one should
Yeah,
ever
yeah,
touch you
yeah.
in a way that's
Yeah.
inappropriate unless you are wasted, drunk, and a 6'5" guy talk shit to you. Great. That's men
Yeah,
on men.
And
but
you
You guys
go,
do
well,
your
let me
penis.
tell you a little something about, and then they just smack.
But yeah.
And then you're like, okay, got it.
No
yeah,
room for
sure.
violence in relationships.
No,
at all,
absolutely
at all.
not. There should never
Yeah.
be anything like that. But I appreciate I think it's just about taking accountability as humans in general that I think unfortunately technology has allowed us to
Avoid.
this is probably a little bit of a hot take too, but I think that we get to be cowards. I think we get to kind of just say, you know what, I'm gonna block this person on Instagram or I'm gonna unmatch this person on here. You know?
And let's add to that. Yes, and, right?
Yes,
I
and.
went to acting
Okay.
school. Yes, and. Yes, they get to be cowards. And people also get to be fucking insane. Because I have
Hey.
seen the 7,000 text messages that a girl will send a guy after he says, hey, it's been 1 or 2 days. I'm not feeling it.
Yes.
So I've seen the pendulum swing the other way where it's like people hide. I do know how many times I get on a date. I finally stood up to somebody the other day who DM'd me, can you please speak slower? I just don't understand why you have to say fuck so much. And I finally wrote to her and I said, please tell me, when the fuck are you going to say that to someone's face? In what world would you and I be having a conversation where you would just out of nowhere go, I don't like the way you're talking. Could you just fucking slow down? Could you just stop? You wouldn't, because guess what? You'd be punched in the face.
It's damn, and you know what? Hey. And it would be justified. Okay, it would be justified. One, anyone who says that to you, that means that they don't like authentically who you are, right? People have said that shit to me. People have been like, hey, I think because I've always used pessimism and comedy together, and I always try my best to be the most positively negative person that I can be. And people at times have been like, it's just, I want someone who's going to uplift me. And I'm like, okay, well, then my comedy is not for you. And chances are half of our conversations aren't going to uplift you because you need a fucking Hallmark card. So fuck off. I'm like, and that's something that I had, you get old enough that you know who you are, or you at least have a better understanding of who you are, who you want to be. And that not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. It's really okay to not have everyone like you. Yeah.
It's such a sign of anxious attachment, specifically when we talk about, like, if we're really going to like go in there.
Sure.
Anxious folks are so uncomfortable feeling uncomfortable that they have to change their surroundings before they understand that they have to look inward.
Never works. Yeah.
For instance, people attacking me. You need to stop. You make me anxious. Like, I'll get people that'll leave a review on the podcast. I couldn't even listen to this. She makes me so anxious. I can't even stand her. And it's like, she needs to do all of this. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, princess. First of all, are you paying my fucking bills? Didn't think so.
Yeah.
So please remind me when I need to change who I am so that you like me. All right.
Lay the smack down.
Second of all, is this what you do in dating? Because that's always my question to them. I'm like, is this what you do in dating? That you tell somebody they need to change who they are for you to want to be with them because you're uncomfortable and you don't know how to tap into your own shit to be able to regulate, bring yourself back, come back to equilibrium, or I don't know, have free fucking will to just keep on scrolling and go on with your day.
So easy. So it could be so easy. It could all be so simple.
But it's never simple because people look. Okay, so another I don't even know if it's a hot take, but there's just there's a lot of crappy people out there. There are, okay? Yes. I run into them all the time, and I know for a fact that most people I know run into people that they think are shitty or crappy all the time. And, the fact of the matter is that you have got to, you have to love yourself. And if other people love you, that's hopefully, of course we want other people to love us, but we can't have it be to the point where it's so toxic that we're wanting acceptance from everybody because it's just it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. No matter
Mama
what.
Zohar has
like,
always said, you got to love yourself more than the need to be loved by other people.
That's right.
That part.
And I've been trying to tell Daniel that for a long time.
Hey,
let me tell you,
slowly but surely,
it's only slowly because I got to tell you that like he's still every time I see him he's crying about somebody was mean to him.
Oh yeah.
Recently,
the world's just been getting me down, Sabrina. I'm trying to get better.
He holds on to it though in a way that's like really. It's just you need to let go.
Yeah, and it's hard for other people to be around me because
that's right because you suck all the air out of the room with your sadness,
like a wet blanket.
That's what it's
like a vacuum, a happiness vacuum.
It's a fun sponge. You just soak it all up and
soaking it all up. Dude, hey, so Brina, wait, what's up? What was that?
No, I was just gonna say I saw that on I think it was Love. No, fuck, what was the show? Not Perfect Match. And
Perfect Match.
She was like, Micah's a fun sponge. She just soaks it all up. And you were like, oh, that's the perfect way to describe some people. You just some people just don't know how to live in a positive because it's a whole trauma childhood thing. But anyway,
it has to be something deep rooted in childhood, man. So Brina, I was gonna ask you, what if you could give someone a template? What's the best way to break up with someone after a long-term relationship that isn't gonna go anywhere?
Before you answer that, Sabrina, interesting question, Daniel.
Is
it's
it?
a little, it's a
Is
little
it now?
specific, actually.
Oh, is it specific?
It's a little specific.
I just want to know. I think a
what,
lot of
you
our
just doing
fans,
fucking research.
our fans would be
He's-
interested.
So
While we've got her here,
So what I think is happening here is that Daniel is somebody that I've realized that when he asks a question, there's always a reason. It could be
It's always a reason.
for years down the line.
Oh,
But
okay.
he might ask a question going, you know what, I might need this when I'm 47.
might,
And
Just
therefore, that's why. So, I don't
Hey.
think the audience was. I think
Hey.
Daniel wants to know.
Daniel does want to
Daniel
know
wants
this,
to know.
because it's one of those things like, you've been with somebody for a little bit of time. It's easy to just snip, act like I never knew you, like you can do the block. But when you're talking about like, you done put some years in, that's a tough one. I wonder what our listeners, I wonder how we can help our listeners, Sabrina.
You know what what I like is, Daniel, you're thinking of future you, and that's a
Hey.
huge sign of growth to think
Hey.
about what future you. I'm very good at that when I get high every night and smoke a shit ton of weed because that's just
Hey.
what helps me relax. And so I
Sure.
always think of future me on what
I
snacks
take
I'm gonna
edibles,
eat
yep.
after.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get down to brass taxes. When it comes to doing any kind of breaking up or anything, just in general, when we're using communication, we want to kind of think about a couple of things here. One, you want to keep it factual. So it's
Mhm.
not, you always do this, you never do that. It's like, that's not factual. So the first thing that we even actually, before we even go down to that, is like using I statements, right? So if I were to come to you, like I actually did this, I broke up with a partner that we were together for like a year and a half.
Okay.
And we were like living together and all of that, and it just like wasn't working. And I just one night looked at him and I was like, can I share something with you? And he was like, yeah, what's up? Ask for consent. Always make sure that this person is ready to receive what it is that you're fucking about to say to them.
Sure.
And it's always like, we kind of say like sandwich it, like positive, negative in the middle. So it's like starting with, I care very deeply about you as a person, and I have been nothing but grateful for the last however long it's been.
Oh no.
But right.
I already see
But-
you already like I've heard this speech before. Wait a second. This has
Uh-oh.
happened to me.
It sounds familiar. And it's
Yeah.
like, but I need to be honest with you. I don't think that this is something that's going to be long term, or I don't feel like we're actually compatible for the long term. It's not something that I want to pursue. And I know that this is going to be hurtful. And the last thing I ever want to do is hurt you. But also, what I know is that I need to stay true to myself, because letting you go is the kindest thing I could do, because now you can actually meet somebody. And so can I. That's genuinely correct for us, or
Man.
whatever. Right. And it's one of those things, like, we have to remember at the end of the day, honesty is kindness, as Brene Brown says. Like, we want to be real, you want to be authentic. It's also dependent on like, what are the reasons, right? Like, if there's feedback that's actually going to help this person. So like, Hutch, if it was like, hey, I think you're awesome, but the reality is like, I want to be with somebody that maybe it doesn't use comedy as a deflection. I don't fucking know. I'm just saying like something random, right? Like if you're a comedian, I don't want to be with somebody that does that.
Sure.
Right. And so we have to be able to receive that and be like, hey, thanks for being honest. Right. There's a difference between, this is the reason I want to break up. I want to have kids. You don't. I have this political view. You have this. I want to live in this country. You want to live here. Right. Those are the actual like, hey, this is the reason.
Sure.
But when it comes down to like, I'm not attracted to you anymore, or I don't feel that connection anymore,
You can maybe leave that.
we don't need to be hurtful, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta,
I
you gotta
agree.
leave
I
that
agree.
one out,
Yeah.
because that one, when I tell you that one will make someone like the next 2 years of their life is going to be trying to dig themselves out of that hole.
Dang, how long did it take you to dig yourself out when she told you that? Thanks for that though, Bria. That's real.
Yeah, it's just like I said, use I statements always. Anytime you're trying to communicate anything, I feel this. I feel this. So like
Yeah.
if I'm dating someone, I don't feel that connection anymore. I'm not going to try to bullshit it. No, I don't want to go to couples therapy. I'd like to move on with my life. And I know that might not be what you want, but that's a decision I've made for myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
you can't, because we have to talk about facts. You cannot argue the facts of like, hey, we haven't had sex in a year and a half. Okay, why are we together?
Well,
Right?
now wait a second. Now hold the phone.
Is that's too
heard it
long?
before.
He's like, can't do it.
What? No. First off, if that's the case, okay. Look, it's done.
It's
Okay,
done.
I mean, I'm not saying that that no one has come back from that. Okay, but if you're a year and a half in and there's nothing like that happening, it's like you're really just with a friend at that.
You're a
point.
roommate
Okay.
at that
You're a
point.
roommate.
I've even told Ryan, I'm like,
So-
I know very well if I didn't have sex with you for more than like 2 weeks is like the most we can go. If I
Right.
went a month, 2
Right.
months, 3 months, it's like I could all but guarantee you'd be getting it elsewhere. And I'm not stupid enough to know that that's your need. You're a man. And he's been honest with me. A healthy sex life is really important. Like,
Sure.
This is also part of that communication early on when we're being authentic and real, right?
Yeah.
Like being honest. It's the number one fucking thing I have an issue with is how many people come and say, but I don't understand. They said they want a relationship. It's like, that doesn't mean they want one with you in the way that you want one with them.
Yeah.
So we also need to be cognizant of like, there's certain feedback. Like if somebody came to me and was like, you know what, your anxiety is too much. I can't handle this. That would be
Sure.
valid because that would be something I'd go, wow, okay, so my anxiety impacted you to this point that it caused all of these issues. Does that mean I need to change who I am? No. But does that mean that if somebody came to me and told me that, I'd be like, damn, that's valid. Let me look into that.
Sure.
Versus the guy I dated before my partner, he was having, I'm going to be honest, sorry to this guy, but I don't give a fuck. He was a dick. He had erectile
fuck him.
dysfunction and he
Oh.
could not, he
Damn!
could not.
Wait, so he
it
was a dick,
bad.
but okay, that's great.
He was a dick who couldn't perform. And it was
Dick
like
without a dick.
constant. It was
This
like
motherfucker.
every time I'd be like, hey, okay, like, what are we going to do here? Like, I kind of was cool until after a while, you're like, I'm not really cool with this. It's been a month and a half. Like, my needs aren't being met. Like, what are we doing?
Right.
And he came to me, I just think I'm not attracted to you anymore. And I was like, really? And he's like, maybe that's not. And he was just throwing things. And I was like, see,
Just
that's what I
deflection. Yeah, he's just throwing stuff out there.
Just throwing shit. And you're like, that's just hurtful. Like, there's no reason to hurt someone's feelings when that's not actually the case. What the case was, he had serious childhood traumas and didn't know how to actually open up to somebody. And it was terrifying him that we were getting deeper.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so he got into his head and then performance was impacted and he didn't want to go see someone. So I think there's just us being adults of like, how would I want to be broken up with? Okay, that's the best I can do is at least to be honest with my partner, be kind and let them go. Don't do this. You're amazing. And any man will be lucky to have you. Like, don't fucking patronize me. Get fucked. Just let me know the information and let me move on.
And by the way, when someone just
talk.
starts throwing things out there like that, right? They start throwing out, oh, it's because I'm not attracted to you. It's because when they start to blame you, the problem is that as the other person, you go on the offensive as well. You're like, listen here, go gadget. All right, you better fucking relax. Okay, like, know, you're going to have a reaction because someone is basically attacking you based off of something that it doesn't have to do with you.
Yeah.
And they're not willing to really talk about what it is. So, you've been so fucking fun to have on this pod. I just want to let you know, I just love, you've got such a great, your honesty is very, very refreshing in a world, I think that, a lot of people are so afraid just to have the real conversation at times. So, I really appreciate it. I don't appreciate having to finish this really quick.
But
Hold
you
on.
gotta do it. You gotta do it.
I'm sorry, Daniel, did you even, I got a sip and a half in.
I got, the sip, half a sip.
Woo! All right. Well, good. You two get spirited, and thank you so much for coming on, Sabrina.
Yeah, you rock, Sabrina.
You're awesome, and thank you to the audience. This is another episode of For Further Instructions. See you soon.
See you next time.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.